Crime and Safety meeting. My name is Felicia Ferguson. I work with WestCare, Wisconsin, and I'm here to just give a little bit about what WestCare does in our programming. I am the program director for community-based crime reduction. Community-based crime reduction, we work with District 5 and Grace Fellowship Church to address um, reckless driving, gun violence, also safe driving, and just campaigns for youth, families, and people all around in the neighborhood of Harambe. I give out yard signs. We have gun locks free to City of Milwaukee residents, and that's to everybody in the City of Milwaukee who wants gun locks. We give them out at WestCare. Our address is at 335 West Wright Street. So that would be Val Phillips and Wright Street. The brick building on the corner, if anybody can imagine it. Everybody know where that's at? Okay. So we have several programs at WestCare that all kind of link arm in arm, if you will. So we have several youth programs, a junior yak program where we have young people come in during the summer months and they learn life skills. They learn work and training skills, and they also journal with us. And they go with us from 11 until they're 16. We also have a youth coordinator who does youth programs in the area of Harambe, which may be Moscone Place. We work very closely with Riverworks and some of their programming. We have 2 community organizers, which should be here, but I guess nobody's showing up. They organize within Harambe with the senior programs that may be in the area, the churches that may be in the area, and we hold events. But every Wednesday is where you can catch us all in the office because we have a citywide food pantry that gives out very good groceries to people in need. Or if you don't even get food, even if you don't get food stamps, people who don't get food stamps, we are people that's in need. I know I'm one of them. So you don't need an ID. You can just come down to 335 West Wright and get you some food, some snacks, anything for the kids. That's every Wednesday, rain, sleet, or snow. We collaborate with Feeding America, Walmart, Trader Joe's, and I want to say Whole Foods. So we get some pretty good stuff coming through there. We also collaborate with a farm that gives us fresh fruits and vegetables during the summer harvest seasons and stuff like that. All those things are free to the public, City of Milwaukee residents, and we do that on Wednesdays from 12 to 2 or until the food is gone. Where am I at? Pantry, community organizing. We also have a NIP program, which is to help neighbors improve homeowners improve homes, maybe a roof, just other, things that if you're a homeowner in Harambe. You can contact Tanisha or a lady named Miss Claudia at Fort I have these I have these to describe all these programs if you need to know any more information. But I brought David Sinclair with me to thank you, David, for coming. Thank you, David, for coming. Who's gonna describe himself and some other programs that we do at WestCare.
Hey, how you guys doing? All right, all right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm gonna stand over here. That's a little line. Okay. How's everyone this evening? I know it's late, so I won't be long before you. My name is David Sinclair. I am the Credible Messenger program director, and with through Milwaukee County with WestCare as the lead, one of the lead agencies. Um, First of all, we'll talk a little bit about what WestCare does. We're a community-based organization located in the Harambe area. We are in the old Southwest Bell AT&T building on the corner of 4th and Bell Phillips. And what our programs, we have a bevy of programs that serve the community. Some programs reach countywide, other programs are exclusively to the Harambe area. Harambe in distance from here is maybe a few blocks that way, maybe on the other side of the bridge, but it does extend to some parts of this portion of the city as well. One of my program, the Credible Messenger program, is a program that is designed for transformative mentoring, and we also work in the violence. We work in violence prevention portion of it. Well, what we do is we have young people who have been housed in the detention center, as well as community young men that have been referred to us from the community that are kind of on the borderline between being at risk and actually in risk. So one of the things that we have, one of the major components of that is transformative mentoring. And what we do is we try to move young people from a scale of being from death and incarceration, from being on the trajectory from death and incarceration to alive and free. And part of that mentoring space is we use all of our programming to help out. I think Felicia discussed one of our programs we use is West Care Eats program, which is our food pantry. We're not associated with Hunger Task Force or some of the other larger food banks, which make you require, that you got to go through a bunch of red tape in order just to get a box of food. So what we like to do is we have different partners from across the city that donate fresh food and fresh vegetables. We also work with a farm that gives us fresh food and vegetables. And what we do is we serve that to the community each and every Wednesday from 12 to 2 p.m. We also have the neighborhood improvement services in which people that live in the community that own their own homes are eligible. We have grant funded money that are eligible to get their homes renovated or make upgrades, the necessary upgrades. Say you may have lead pipes or something like that. The NIP program allows that to be able to come in and get that converted. Also, other major improvements, like if you have disabilities and you may need a ramp built or something like that, the NIP program works through those type of deals as well. And it's a whole other services. We also have our drug-free communities program. And with the drug-free communities program is work with the young people in the neighborhood and in the area to promote being drug-free, basically. And so they have a bevy of programming that works with our young people through our Youth Action Council, which also determines the direction in which how we lead our young people into more of a safe environments, more drug-free. So we also participate in the Narcan program. We also participate in the medicine buyback programs and things like that. And we let's see what else. Going from that, we also have life skills program. We also have a life skills program. Our life skills program, we are in seven schools inside of MPS, in which we teach life skills for young people from the grades of fourth grade all the way up to eighth grade. And we are exclusively located, and one of our schools is right here in La Follette. We work inside those schools, and we work with some of the fathers to produce to make sure they have a presence in the school. We also work with the PTA. We also work with the student body, and we bring life skills programming throughout that space. I'm also missing a program somewhere. But however, I know Felicia passed out some of our program literature. Take a good read at that, because what we do need is the support of our communities. We need the support of each and every one of you here to be able to help continue to access these programs, for our people that live in these communities. Because one of the most disheartening things is people saying, well, we don't have no help. We don't know what's going on. And so here you have an agency that's willing. We call our work kingdom work, meaning that we're here to help build up and uplift the people. So that's one of our major goals. And we try to make sure that we are compassionate. So if we don't have the resource, we'll definitely make sure that we can find you the resource, and we do it really expeditiously in the way that we operate. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? We can any questions, man? Any questions at this point? Y'all got quiet on me. Y'all got quiet on me. Talk to me. You said about the NIP program. Yes. Mm-hmm. Where do you go to apply for that? Who do you call for that? So if you have the information in front of you, we have our number, WestCare number. If you don't have it, the number is 414-239. You got it? Okay, cool. We got it. Okay, cool. You can call this number. Someone will direct you to the right person to get to actually involved, and then let you know what the requirements are for the program. Usually we don't turn no one away. So if you call and you got a concern, we'll figure out how we can get the help. Who's that funded by? I think it's through the city of Milwaukee. Any other questions? I will want to say, but also as WestCare, as WestCare, and we represent WestCare, as Felicia represents our crime-based reduction director. We just want to help the community. That's our job. That's our goal. That's our job. We want to make sure that we are in a space to be able to provide services, even if you don't need them yourself. Please pass along the information that you have in front of you so that our neighborhood partners, our community partners, and our stakeholders are able to know that they have access to this type of service and this type of help. Can you help us with our property tax? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure we can figure out a resource to get you that help if we can't do it. Thank you all.
Thank you, David. He came and took one for the team, y'all. Give him another round of applause. Lastly, you summed it up, David, so I don't have much more to say, but I do want to bring attention to the community listening circle that is coming up through CBCR, 5th District, WestCare, and Safe and Sound. We'll be at Grace Fellowship Monday, February 13th, and we'll be talking and sharing and coming up with a tangible plan between you guys and us to make the Harambe neighborhood more safe. So if you have any questions, you can reach me. My flyer is also as well on the table over there. And then I hope I passed everybody out a program directory for WestCare. If not, see me after the meeting. Anybody have some questions for me? No? Sounds good.
All right. So I want to thank you all for being here. I know it's kind of chilly. How you doing today? How's everybody doing? Oh, thank you very much. I know it's chilly, but thank God it's not as cold tonight as it was last night. Right? Last night, or actually yesterday, I got up, came to work, went outside to start my car up and get in and everything, and I still had my gloves on the whole time I drove to work. And I was like, whoa. But thank God it's going to be a little bit warmer. Okay. So we're going to jump into our crime statistics. One thing that I do want to mention, so I was not here last month in January to discuss our crime statistics for the end of year in 2022. So I want to make sure that I highlight some things, okay? So our homicides in 2022 were down 16% compared to 2021. We couldn't do that. It's not an MPD thing. It's a community partner thing. Because you guys are calling us, you're letting us know the problem locations, you're letting us know the problem people, we're able to stop the right people. Okay? So 16% in District 5 alone. And that's the community police partnership right there. So we appreciate the calls that you guys give to us. We appreciate the information that you provide to us. And we're going to continue to work together so that we can continue to decrease those numbers. Our non-fatal shootings for 2022 compared to 2021, we were down 3%. Okay, so my goal for both homicides and non-fatal shootings were 5%. We didn't quite reach that non-fatal shooting part, but there were less people who got shot last year than the year before. So if we continue to work together, we can try to get that number to go down even more. I appreciate you all calling us, letting us know what's going on, okay? Because we can't do our job without you. So let's jump into February statistics. Oh, clicker. Can you guys hear me without this microphone? Okay, all right. I don't want to be acting like I'm doing too much. All right, thanks. So let's look at our homicides 2023. So last year, the same time we had one homicide. This year we've had two. Okay, so that means that our percentage rate from 2022 to 2023 is 100% increase, because instead of there being just one, there was two. So with this last homicide that we had, it was of a 15-year-old young man who was killed off of 9th and Atkinson. Okay, and that's sad. Anytime anybody is killed, it's a sad thing. Our young folks, that's even more sad, because that's a future, that's a possibility, that a life that's lost, and we'll never know what that young man could have been had he not been murdered. Okay, we know that there are issues with some of the youth in our city that are getting into with these different gangs, Renzo gangs, GBG, whatever. All of these new gangs that are coming out. It's not how it used to be back in the day, where you had the Vice Lords and the Gangster Disciples, where they were turf. This is totally different. And a lot of this is social media related, and unfortunately, there are so many guns that are out there. These kids are finding them and they're using them without really thinking about the consequences of what taking someone's life or shooting someone, those consequences that those bring, which is unfortunate. Right? So right now, let me go back. Last year, 2022, we had 5 rapes. We have an increase of 3. So we're at 8 for the year to date so far. So there have been 3 additional compared to last year. And so what I always tell people is that so say for instance, there is, a vacant building or apartment or a garage or something like that where the door is open, please call us so that we can get it boarded up. Now, there's a possibility that some vagrants may go back to that location and rip off that green board. That's okay, call us back and just keep calling us so that we can keep putting those boards up. Okay? And then also, it's not necessarily, just those stranger sexual assaults, but sometimes a man meets a woman or whatever type of relationship that they may have, or they may meet off the internet or something like that, go to a location and then something is forced upon them. Okay? So it's not necessarily just the stranger sexual assaults, but it could be those incidents where maybe, 2 people have known each other for a long period of time, and then something takes place where the other person does not want it. Okay? Robberies. So last year to date, we had 28 robberies. This year we had 27. So what I'm noticing with the robberies is that, so we've had 2, actually one this morning and then one yesterday. And so we all know that when people are committing robberies, they're crime of opportunities, right? So somebody's not paying attention, or that person looks like, I could take that person, I could do something to that person. This person is by themselves, or this person is walking down the street on their cell phone, or leaving out of the store on their cell phone, or looking down and not paying attention to their surroundings. And so what I noticed, we just had 2 robberies where there was a suspect who robbed people who didn't speak English. They did like contract work. Okay? So, just be careful, or not be careful, but if you see, somebody who's not from the neighborhood, maybe they're doing some work on a house in your neighborhood, be mindful of them, because they may not know the ins and outs. Some folks, they come from different parts of the city that may not know your block, that may not know, that car doesn't belong over here, or that they look a little sketchy. So just look out for your neighbors, look out for people. Okay? Aggravated assaults. But I do want to point out one thing as well. So compared to So 2022 compared to 2021, we were down about 31 robberies. So that's a good thing. And like I said before, I don't take credit for any of this stuff as far as MPD or District 5. We're doing this together. So whether you guys are giving us information like, hey, police officers, there's some suspicious guys in this Kia over off 24th Street. We're taking that information and we're going out there and we're stopping them. So we appreciate the partnership that we have together. Aggravated assaults. So right now we're at 78 compared to 111 aggravated assaults. And aggravated assaults, those are generally the incidents where someone is beaten up, where there's a bone that's broken, someone gets stitches, or something significant, something of that nature. Human trafficking, right now we're at zero. I want to point out 2022 compared to 2021, we had 8 additional compared to the 1 that we had. So we had a total of 9 in 2022. And like I always tell everybody, if you see something that don't look right, you see this, you can, whatever kind of variable you want to put out there. You see this older man with these young girls or these young boys or whatever, and it don't look right. You know that's not their real uncle. Call us. We can do a welfare check. Knock on the door, make sure everything is okay. Okay? Same thing with the older woman or younger woman or whoever. If you think that something is not right, it's okay to call us, even if you want to call us anonymous. We can still go out there, but you have to give us information now. Tell us what it is that you're seeing. If you're seeing something that's happening on a day-to-day basis, if it's an unusual, something that's unusual that stands out, let us know exactly what it is that you see and why you think that it's something wrong with that, so that we can have enough information to make educated decisions when we get to those houses. Okay? Burglaries. So last year we had 335 burglaries compared to 350 burglaries in 2021. And that's a good thing too. So you know what I always say, right? Don't let everybody know what you got in your house. Close your blinds, your shades. Everybody don't need to see that 65-inch TV, that PlayStation 5, and all the other stuff that you got. Because everybody, some people that may want to take what you have, what you've worked for. So do us a favor, do yourselves a favor, making sure that you don't let everybody see what you have. You go on vacation, and I am bad for this. Sometimes I go on vacation, I'll be like, yeah, I'm on vacation. I'm happy as sun. And thank God nobody has hit me up. But it's a possibility.
Where do you live?
2920 North Bel Air. But sometimes it can happen. We put ourselves out there where, we're happy to get away, sunshine, palm trees, and, next thing you know, somebody's inside our house and it's not because we want them there. So just be mindful of the things that we're doing. So yeah, that's the point that I wanted to make on the burglary part. The thefts, so we were actually down about 150 thefts 2022 compared to 2021. But before I even get into the thefts, so right now for the burglaries, we're at 25 compared to 26 last year. And hopefully we can continue to decrease that amount to be where we are or where we were in 2022.
Out of those burglaries, were any other people at home?
Some of them were at home, but so we call those our robbery home invasions.
Is that listed?
So that would fall under the burglaries. Yeah, so it's either gonna fall. Generally it'll fall under the burglary aspect. So some people were at home, unfortunately, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I talked a few months ago when it was hot. I said, okay, if you guys are having your windows open, make sure you put something in there that's going to keep those windows from going so high, right? So whether it is some type of prevention that you buy from Home Depot. I know that you mentioned the Amazon burglar alarms. I'm old school. I had a little nail, hammer, but I know everybody can't do that, right? So just making sure that we're doing something to keep people out of our house, even when we're inside of our house. Because some people will, forget, leave that window up unlatched, go upstairs, go in the basement, and next thing you know, somebody is inside the house, okay? So, just making sure that we're mindful of the things that we're doing to try to prevent ourselves from being victimized.
Those aggravated assaults, were they part of the burglary?
Which part are you looking at, right?
Aggravated assaults?
Oh, right there?
Yeah, when they went into the home, did they bother them?
Some incidents did happen where
Yeah.
someone was, some people have been victimized.
Okay,
It could have been a battery. It could have been, I'm just gonna take this PlayStation and I'm leaving. I'm running out. I'm just gonna take this change or take these car keys, which also goes to our motor vehicle thefts. Take these car keys while I'm inside the person's house and I'm fleeing. So, but unfortunately, in some instances, because I have to be honest,
yeah.
some people have been harmed by a perpetrator.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I just got one more, that's all.
No, that's fine. That's okay.
The rapes, was there any elderly women, that age, do you know the age group in that?
So I don't have the age group of the women or men who were sexually assaulted because it's not just women. I don't have the age. I do not have the age range.
Okay,
No,
all right, I'm done.
that's okay. This is what it's all
I
about.
just wanted to know about the elderly, the women,
Uh-huh.
if it was a part of that age.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
So our thefts. So right now we're at 92 compared to 115 in 2022. And what do I say about thefts? Come on, y'all. Opportunity. Yes, thank you. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. Okay. So it's a crime of opportunity. And then also sometimes the thefts can occur inside of a house, right? So I know for instance, there was an incident that took place this past Sunday. Individual allowed some family members inside their house and some stuff came up missing, okay? So it could happen, the people that you love the most could do it to us. So it's not just about strangers, it could be, just a crime of opportunity. Anything, oh, I see that, you got a nice purse. Okay, cuz, I'm out. That kind of stuff. I'm gonna take your purse along with your macaroni and cheese and, I'm out of here. So that kind of stuff happens, yes.
Firearms and cars.
Oh, yes.
Every firearm that I don't know the statistics, but I would say 95% of firearm thefts are from a vehicle.
Yes.
Every single day you see the firearm theft, someone left their firearm in their vehicle, whether it's in plain view or not. That is the prime place to have your firearm stolen, is when it's left in a vehicle.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because we had a rash of break-ins into cars in our River West neighborhood a few weeks ago. I believe it was about 26 vehicles that were broken into. They were looking for guns, okay? That's what they were looking for. And generally, I'm not gonna just, put it all on the young folks because older folks are out here doing the same thing too. They know that these guns are inside of these cars, especially when folks are at these nightclubs. You know what, I can't take the gun inside the club, so I need to turn up. So I'm gonna put my gun inside the car. That's a terrible decision. Because what happens is that somebody breaks into that car and now they're using that gun in a crime, okay? So just please, if you have a firearm, please be mindful. If there's locations that you cannot go into, say for instance, you wanna go to a bar or you wanna go to a game or something like that, leave your firearm at home. Because if you leave it in the car, there is a possibility that that someone may break into your car and take it. Motor vehicle thefts. So we actually did very good last year, 994 for the whole year 2022 compared to over 1,300 in 2021. So right now we are at 71 compared to 107. So we're doing very good. Now, one thing I want to mention is that we still have those lots. If you have a Kia or a Hyundai, please come to District 5 and get a lot, or a club. Or if you know someone, please make sure that you're putting that information out there so that they know they can come to District 5 and get a club. All we ask is just for registration to make sure that the vehicle belongs to you and that it's actually a Kia or a Hyundai. And some people will say, well, them kids know how to they know how to take that stuff off. They may know how to take it off, But somebody's gonna be watching them do, you know, whatever maneuvers they're trying to make, and that's gonna buy us time to get there, okay? So if you just out there without it, all they need is that USB. They, you know, snatch that steering wheel portion off, use a USB for your cell phone, and then they're starting that car and they're out of there. But if they have some kind of deterrent, it's gonna take them a little bit longer before they can take that car and leave. And that may be an opportunity for us to get there and stop them. Now, before I continue on, I wanna make sure that I give a shout out to District 5 officers. They've been doing a really good job. And we're gonna start posting some photos of the work that they do on our social media. You will be surprised of the kind of guns that some folks have, okay? I'm not talking about this little 9mm. I'm talking about drums. I'm talking about Dracos, AR-15s, AK-47s, things that can penetrate our body armor. But the officers are out there every day trying to make sure that they're getting these individuals off the street. So if you're not on our Facebook page, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because you're gonna be seeing what we're doing and what we're taking off of the street to make sure that our communities are safe. Arsons. So last year we had 63. 2021 we also had 63. Year to date, last year we had 5. Year to date today, we have 1. So I know that last year there was an individual who was setting his girlfriend's, or trying to set his girlfriend's house on fire. And so that situation has discontinued. And I'm hoping that it stays that way. Okay, and I know that I mentioned a few crime and safety meetings ago that there was an incident where, you know, there was another person that was just setting garages on fire and things like that. But we've been fortunate enough to not have those incidents take place, okay? Okay, so our non-fatal shootings, last year, 2022, we had 208, in 2021, we had 215, and so that's our 3%. So we did better last year. Right now, we're neck and neck with what we had last year. So 15 year-to-date this year compared to 15 year-to-date in 2022. And then our carjackings, so last year total, we had a total of 60, and 2021 we had 57. And right now we are a little bit up, we have 6 compared to 5 in 2022. So I do also want to point out this. So there was, well, it's not necessarily it is a carjacking. So off of 12th and Locust, this was 2 days ago, there was an individual, a couple of individuals that robbed and carjacked someone off of 12th and Locust. And so officers were in the right place at the right time. They got the suspects, and they got 2 firearms recovered from the vehicles. Okay, so that was an incident where it was right place, right time. A lot of the other ways that we get people in custody is when you guys give us information. Okay, so we're doing the best that we can to reduce a lot of these issues from occurring in our neighborhoods. Okay, so
Question,
go ahead. Yes.
where does it show, like a little 1-year-old that just got killed in the stolen car? Where does that show with the deaths in vehicular situations?
So the 35th and Hope crash.
That one.
Okay.
But there's a lot of them that somebody gets killed when they're running away, when they're stealing a car. How does that show?
So we don't have traffic deaths in our index. Now, if that is something that you want, because it's your meeting, we can include traffic deaths.
Would that be under homicide and, something to do with traffic, something or other?
So it's a little different. So say for instance, it's a reckless vehicle that's driving and a crash occurs and someone dies, that's not gonna be in your homicides. But say for instance, it is an individual who is intoxicated or so it's a little different compared to it's so our homicides generally are going to have, or they're generally gonna include the stabbings, so someone is stabbed and someone is, strangled or shot or something along those lines. So vehicular homicides, they do occur, but I would have to get back with you maybe next month to get you that exact data.
Well, I was told once, I collect the homicide information for our Ferguson. And I was told that that kind of thing goes to the sheriff's department, and so the police don't have it.
I am not sure, but I can't say that I'm not sure. So if it happens in the city of Milwaukee, we have the data. We do have the data. It's just classified differently.
Unless it's on the freeway.
Unless it's on the freeway. But if it's in the city of Milwaukee, city proper, we would have the data. Yes, ma'am.
Wondering, does one incident ever have more than one category? Like, is that normal? So like, do you understand what I'm asking?
So say for
it
instance,
could be a
it's a robbery
robbery
and a
and
burglary?
an aggravated assault, or like it can hit more than one category?
Yes, yes it can.
And it's counted in each of the categories.
Yes, yeah, yes it is. So one thing that I always do is bring up the number of traffic stops that we conduct for the previous month. So for the month of January, we conducted 176 traffic stops. And then we also conducted 45 field interviews. So the reason that I always bring up traffic stops is because when we conduct traffic stops, we're basically having a presence in that neighborhood. And so by us being in that neighborhood, individuals who are out there, okay, well, I was gonna shoot John today, I'm gonna wait because I see the police right here. They're not gonna do it in front of us, okay? And so that's the reason that I want our officers to conduct these traffic stops in the neighborhoods, is to show that presence. I also want them to make sure that, hey, we're stopping some of this reckless driving that's occurring, but the goal is to show a presence and to be out there so that everybody sees us, and to hopefully reduce some of the issues that are occurring. Now, 45 field interviews. So a field interview, we have to have IRs. And I know that I talked about this at each meeting. IRs is that individual, you got, what is it, Steve? Yeah, please. It's-
Individualized, articulable, reasonable suspicion.
Thank you. Okay. So,
See that 5
So
times?
individualized means that it's you that, like you individually, not you as a group. Well, geez, now I just forgot what.
it's always there, but when it comes out, it's just.
It means you have to be able to explain why I thought you committed a crime. And it has to be reasonable, saying like another officer might think the same thing. I don't think it because of some experience I had by myself, 30 years ago. It's something that everybody would. It's basically a reasonable suspicion that you are suspected of doing this particular crime at this particular time.
And so it's a part of our constitutional policing. So we're stopping people for the right reasons, okay? Before MPD, the Collins Agreement, we were stopping people, black and brown people, disproportionately more than Caucasian people, okay? And a lot of the times it was just stopping people, frisking people for no reason. Or, should I say, without articulating what the reason was, okay? So we're stopping people, we're stopping people for committing crimes or reasonably, we suspect them to have committed a crime. And we are frisking, when we do conduct a frisk or a search, it is for reasons, okay? We're frisking this person because we believe that this person has a firearm. We see a bulge, we see a magazine, we see some type of a butt of a gun, or we see a knife handle, or whatever the case is, and we believe that this person may attack us. So that's why we conduct the frisk. But the stops and the frisks, we're doing things the right way. Yes, ma'am.
It was just a very recent article that the NAACP said that it's still going on. So how do we know where it's still going on? If District 5 is getting better, is it happening somewhere else in the city that is not changing?
Well, let me tell you this. So we're getting much better as it relates to what it is that we're doing. Now, are there still some issues as it relates to, well, why did you, when we have to talk to officers, why did you do this way? Of course, absolutely. But it's not because it's malicious. It's not because I just stopped this person just because they're black. No, I'm not playing that. we're not, none of us are playing that. Our officers are not playing that. I just stopped this person because he's white. No, that is not how we police. That's not how we're supposed to police. So as a captain, I have to do an audit each week, ensuring that our stops are legit. And if there is something that's wrong with the stop, and it's nothing that is malicious to be like, oh, this officer is doing some underhanded behavior. Oftentimes it's this officer, okay, officer, I need you to tell me why you stopped this person. And it's like, okay, well, it makes sense. But you need to make sure that you are writing that in your report as to why you stopped that person. And so sometimes oftentimes it's as simple as that, okay? And so we have improved significantly since 2021. And when I got there in 2021, December of 2021, I was tasked with basically creating a plan to ensure that we would get better at conducting or articulating our stops. Because when I got to 5, as it relates to the Collins Agreement, it was, so some officers were indicating that they were conducting searches, but on body-worn camera videos, they were actually conducting frisks, okay? So officers actually had probable cause to conduct a frisk. They had probable cause to conduct a search. But instead of conducting a search, which is, going into the pockets, all of that, they were just doing a pat down. Now searches, that's what you want. If you got probable cause to do a search, you want to search. You don't want to just pat down because you can only feel so much. If you have PC for a search, you can go into the pockets. You can, check, unzip the coat, see if they got anything inside the coat. But officers were not doing that. So that was a training issue that I actually brought up and got our officers trained in. Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know you said several times that it helps you from the information you receive from us.
Mm-hmm.
But when I call the police department, I have a problem giving my name.
Mm-hmm.
How does the police department look upon that?
It's fine. Because one thing that I always say, I would rather someone call us and say, I want to be anonymous because I fear retaliation or I fear for my safety. I don't want, these individuals to do something to me or whatever the case is versus not calling at all.
Yeah, but they already know who we are because of caller ID.
Well, is it *69?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I can attest to it. If you call a dispatch and you say you want to remain anonymous, they'll dispatch that call out to us. We can read everything, but
Right.
none of that information will be logged in that call. So you can't find it through open records. We don't even know.
It'll say anonymous on it. I've seen
Correct.
several CAD reports where there's at the very bottom of a CAD report, it will usually tell the person's name, address, and phone number. But if they wish to be anonymous, that's completely left out, and the DAs don't even get
Like I
that.
said, we can't even see that.
and then once I call the district,
Mm-hmm.
the person tells me, no, they can't help me, but they'll put me into a dispatcher. So my call is going somewhere else, not to the district.
So you want your call to go to the dispatcher if it's a call for
Dispatcher.
service, right? So the phone number for non-emergency is 414-933-4444. Okay, so that's for non-emergency. Now, if you want to talk to one of the CPUs or you want to talk to a specific officer, that's when you want to call the district. Now, you can call the district and say, hey, this is occurring on such and such
Right.
location, and we'll contact the dispatcher, but it's best that you stay on the line and we transfer you to the dispatcher, because it may be something that we miss, maybe something that we misinterpret, that you had information on that is now lost because we didn't provide that information, or we misinterpreted information that you had to the dispatcher.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, you have a lot on your plate. I mean, oh my God. It seems like almost an impossible job with all the different categories and trying to keep up with everything. So I just want to say I appreciate you and what your staff is doing to help keep our community safe. But may I ask just a couple of things? One is, what is the percent of cases that lead to actual arrests? I mean, you're giving us statistics of what happened, but what is the outcome of your police work in relationship to all the number of incidents that are happening? Like, how many cases actually get closed or people are prosecuted or whatever it might be?
Okay, well, in all transparency, I would have to get you that information. So can we make sure that we have, or and I'm gonna say this. So for, well, let me say for the homicides, so that's not in my realm, okay? That's the realm of so the homicides and outfit shootings, that's the realm of the Criminal Investigation Bureau. That's their realm, so that's the detectives. So I would have to get back to you regarding those statistics. Rapes, robberies, and other aggravated assaults, that, we can get you the information, it would just take some time.
I can likely get the charge stats, for District 5, I can get you, what cases the DA's office has charged in, compare that to the number, that we have here, so I can probably get that by next meeting.
That's
Is
great.
this District 5's?
This is just District 5.
Okay.
Do you mind, Brittany, can you get that for 2020, 2022?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then,
Yes.
okay, these are really super important, but a lot of aggravations, in neighborhoods, are on a smaller scale. It's like the concept of fixing broken windows, like dogs barking, loud music, people staying out, too late and doing things that cause other people who have to work to not to be able to sleep. So, and I understand that the 5th District has what is called a nuisance tracking system.
Nuisance tracking system?
Okay, you don't know what.
Tracking. Okay, I
Yes.
thought you said cracking, I'm sorry.
No, might be cracking when I'm talking about cracking. And I'm not on crack right now, by the way, so would you tell us, all of us about the nuisance tracking system,
Okay.
please?
So before I even get into that, I'll have actually Sergeant Ratliff or either Steve or Chris talk about the tracking system. So I'll talk about one thing that was implemented, one thing that we implemented when I got to District 5, which is the pre-nuisance, okay? So pre-nuisance, nuisance property, right? So there has to be a number of calls that have to be made, that have to be substantiated by law enforcement, or the calls have to be violent or, violent and sustained where, let's say for instance, a shooting happened, 2 shootings happened at the same location. So the pre-nuisance letter is basically putting the owners of the property on notice before it becomes a nuisance property. Because we know how hard it is sometimes. I used to live off of 41st and Roosevelt. There was a slumlord who owned an apartment or a duplex right next to me, okay? So when I got off work from policing, I had to come home and police because it was just constant nonsense going on. And I would call District 7, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, and you know what, and I'm a sergeant, I was a sergeant and an officer at the time, hey, I'm sorry, we can't nuisance the property, okay? So when I got to 5, I was like, you know what, we gotta do better by our residents. Even if we can't nuisance the property, we can send a pre-nuisance letter out, which is sent by our ADA, Brittany Kachingway, to these houses where we're getting these calls for service, which may not escalate to a nuisance property. And that basically lets the owner know, this is what's occurring at your residence. Officers have been called however many times for whatever issues that are occurring. So, that's an incentive for you to get your affairs in order before your house becomes a nuisance property. So I'll let Steve or Chris talk about the nuisance tracking.
So the nuisance tracking, it's based off an address. We look up the calls for service for that address and we'll record them. And we can implement nuisance tracking based off the Milwaukee County Ordinance 8010 codes. So the 8010 codes include things like discharge of a firearm,
Actually, no.
noise
So the-
nuisance.
I can pull it up right here if you'd like.
Misuse of 911.
That's my dog. Yeah, sure is. So
So
that's
stuff
really
like
hard,
that.
really hard to read. I apologize. I thought that
So
would be better than
yeah,
that.
you got
There's major
littering.
ones and there's minor ones. The minor
Yes.
ones are if there's 3 of them in 1 month at one location. Those minor ones include Gambling, what we hear a lot is noise nuisance, disorderly conducts, stuff like that. Then there's the violent felony ones, and those are the ones that I track. There's, if you have 2 of those in 1 year, your house can be nuisance. Those are your shootings, your armed robberies, and your homicides. I sent about 175 pre-nuisance letters to addresses last year. Anytime there was one occurrence of a shooting, of an armed robbery at either a business or a residence, because we got a lot of the shootings happening and armed robberies at gas stations. One of those, you get a pre-nuisance letter. Some people call and are upset that, you know, they are the victims who have had their house shot up, and I totally understand you don't necessarily get in trouble by getting a pre-nuisance letter. It's just, like the captain said, just to put you on notice, because a lot of these homeowners, business owners that actually own the property, they live in Florida and do not care about what's happening in Milwaukee. So I send them the pre-nuisance letter, and then they're like, you can hang out and have fun in sunny Florida, but if this keeps happening here in Milwaukee, you're going to start getting charged for it. So that's just a way to make sure that those owners, who aren't necessarily the people who are renting these places out, are notified as to what's going on.
Okay, now lead us to the next step. You sent the letter, bam, bam, I read the letter. I'm the landlord or the owner of the property, I don't do anything. And so what is the time span between my receiving the letter and when the next phase, whatever that is, which you'll tell us, goes into effect?
So there would have to be another incident to occur.
One more incident?
Yes, one more major incident. So there's major and minor. The major incidents are the shootings, your armed robberies. So we've had several last year where they had multiple. So I keep track of them. I type in, 111 West Burleigh Street had a shooting on February 1st. 2 months later, I see 111 West Burleigh had another shooting. That's when I will email my officers and say they are now
It's
eligible.
E through L are the majors that
Yeah.
are.
But
They are now
It's-
eligible to be actually nuisanced, and the officers will send a letter to the owner, and then they have how many days? They have to put a plan in
10
action
days.
to address these issues.
Yep.
Sometimes their plans are legitimate, sometimes they are not.
Wait,
And-
stop right there. So they do the plan, they have to show you the plan? How do you know that they did the
I
plan?
have to read the plan,
And
and I
then you
have to approve it.
Okay.
So if I don't approve it, there's been incidents, and there was a gas station that, and a lot of this is teamwork with my team. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, Captain, I don't think that we should accept this, because this is the same plan that this place has had last year, and nothing happened. And so, reject. And that's that, because they have to come with a plan that's gonna be sustainable.
Okay, keep going.
And also,
So,
I'll pass the baton now, because then that's when I pass the baton to the officers.
and real
So-
quick, can we print out that statute or those ordinances
the
for the
8010
next
codes?
meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So if a location comes up with a plan, we'll either reject it, which means they go into nuisance status. If they have any calls for service that apply to those 8010 codes, they'll receive a bill for the police services. That's based on how many officers are out there, how many sergeants, how many lieutenants. There's an automatic captain's fee, and we actually get telecommunicators fee in there now too.
It's not cheap.
They'll receive the bill for that call for service.
Is that a monthly bill, or is that at the end of the year when the tax bill goes out?
That is a bill for the call of service. They can either pay it. If they don't pay it, it goes on their tax bill. If we were to accept a plan, we have 45-day monitoring. We monitor the property for 45 days afterwards to see if the plan implemented is making a difference.
How do you monitor the plan?
The calls for service for the location. We monitor it for longer than that. We monitor it up to a year, because they technically stay in nuisance status for a year. If a property receives 3 bills while they're in nuisance status, they become a chronic nuisance, which means they will continue to get bills for 3 years, and they will get a ticket, which is like, $1,500, $1,800? It's expensive. It's very expensive. What's that?
Why does it take 3 years?
No, they stay in that chronic nuisance status for 3 years. So we'll monitor it. We'll monitor it and send them bills for. No, No, we'll monitor it for 3 years and send them bills for 3 years.
So 3 times 1,800 or whatever the ticket amount is.
Yep,
So
the-
it's
so
not,
they'll,
not 3 times, it could be
Yeah,
multiple
as many
times.
times.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, once they answer that chronic nuisance status, for that 3 years, any call for service that applies to those 8010 codes, they'll A, get the bill for the service for how many police officers are out there and all that, and the ticket.
And I can attest that to signing documents and paperwork, there was a house on Palmer. It was a chronic nuisance, it was in chronic nuisance status. And there were constant issues that were occurring due to this house. I signed at least $18,000 worth of, in documents of bills going to that house. And it was not just, oh, the dog is outside barking. It was violent offenses that were continuously occurring.
After set locations also get billed a lot.
So if I got deep pockets, and just pay these fines, and still neglect, then what happens at some
And that is
level?
exactly what was occurring. This individual was constantly paying, they were $20,000 or $18,000 to $20,000 in 1 year. They were paying, they were coming up with it. Now, I don't know what they did for a living because I ain't got $18,000 to pay the city.
So if that's the case, we'll get the city attorney involved and the city will go after them through the court system to either A, force them out somehow, or B, just take over the property. So if they're still in that chronic nuisance status and they're paying the bills, but it's still an issue, we'll go after them with a different avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I was just wanting to ask, at what point do you all start going into the court system to say, this person does not need to own this property? And then, to have it linger, 5, 7 years, okay, there's a whole lot of damage that can be done to the neighborhood, to the block in
Yes.
that period of time, regardless if they're paying the fine or not.
So I'm glad that you brought that up because like like Chris said, so with this particular house, we did have to get the city attorney involved because there was an incident, and I'll be honest and I'll be frank. There was a woman who was leaving out of a convenience store at on the 200 block of East Chambers. And she leaves out the convenience store and she's shot and she's killed due to nonsense that's going on at this house on Palmer Street. And that house had been in chronic nuisance status since 2020. And so when we got there, I'm like, hey, city attorney, Michael, I forget his last name. I can't pronounce his last name. Yes. Got him involved to say, okay, we need to do something about this house because this is a problem. Not only was it just getting him involved, it was getting DNS involved. They boarded up one of the house because it was two houses on one lot. They boarded up one of the houses, the front house on the lot, due to issues that were going on. And, they started frequenting the house that was in the back. And we conducted a search warrant on the front house. Homicide suspect got, I believe it was 3 homicide suspects in custody from that first house.
Fantastic.
So we, on our part, we're doing our job, but you have to keep in mind too, since COVID, other entities, they might just start back to picking up pieces. So where we've been constantly working, other entities may not have as many staff or, and some things do fall through the crack that way. Yes, ma'am.
So how does that work for properties that are city owned or abandoned already where people are just hanging out and stuff?
That is a huge problem for us. Because although we can go after, I shouldn't say go after, although we can send these nuisance letters, the problematic, houses that are owned by people who either don't care that live in the city or who live out the state and don't care about the property. But it's difficult, we can't do anything as it relates to nuisance in the city, okay? So we have to work with the city attorney, like, hey, this is what's going on. But like I said too, if you see, people hanging out at this house, give us a call. If they're, taking the boards off, call us back so we can get the boards back up there, even though we're constantly getting these boards up. But that's the good thing, because it shows like we're constantly getting out there, so we're doing something. But it also shows the city attorney and also DNS, okay, maybe we need to raise this house. Not saying that they will, but it's just showing that we're constantly being called out here for the same problems over and over again.
I mean, it's just like the hanging around and the sitting on the porch and stuff, like.
We have been trying to work with the city to, like the vacant city-owned properties, to try and get the city to put up cameras or lights or something up on those properties like that. But so far, we've been less than successful with convincing them to spend the money on it.
And then there is a vacant house program, I know, through the city that DNS is supposed to monitor vacant houses, for residents. But I think it's important that if you have a vacant property near you, that you monitor it and you're constantly calling about it. Cause a lot of times people pull the doors off and go inside of it. I've had a house vacant from across the street from me for 7 years. That just was purchased, last week. But just important that you monitor it, and I know that with nuisance, that's a multi-layered approach. So with the charges for calls of service, and then in addition, you have calls for, from DNS, so you have to just constantly get at the people to make sure that, like, that either they'll end up losing the house because of all the fees being added to their taxes, or the homeowner will get rid of the tenants who may be the problem. The city is also a landlord, and we have had instances in the city where the city owns properties and they have bad tenants. And it's a little harder sometimes for the city to penalize itself and get rid of people. But it does happen. You just have to be vigilant. You have to make sure you're calling constantly, following up with Alderman's office, the Department of Neighborhood Services, DPW. Anything you can complain about. If you're trying to get somebody called a nuisance, complain about it. Garbage cans left in the front, call. They have trash and garbage strewn about, call DNS. They're picking up after the dog is barking, call. The more calls you have, the better.
And if you're calling DNS and maybe something's not happening or it's going a little too slow, call the Community Partnership Unit. We work specifically with some DNS agents and inspectors. We'll add it to our board to go out with them and inspect those properties.
And Chris, what's the phone number for CPU, Community Partnership?
414-935-7258 or 7504. We have two phones back there.
7524.
7258.
724, what was the second one?
7504.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I'm glad you mentioned the eviction with the nuisance issue. If we get a nuisance plan and the only thing is eviction, we're gonna reject that. Because yes, the people may be the problem, but we want the landlord to prevent any further issues. So we're talking like cameras, monitoring the property. We want the landlord to go to our open records and get what calls for service are happening at their location so that they can get ahead of the problem. We just don't want them to evict the tenants and the tenants move down the road and now you've got a problem down the road. We
It's
want
like a water bed, you just push down over here and then, oh, it goes over
exactly,
there.
exactly. We want the landlord to do things that are going to solve the issue at hand and further issues.
And one more thing I wanted to add too that's kind of important. There's certain things that we cannot nuisance for. So domestic violence, sexual assault, overdoses, welfare checks, things like that, because we don't want to in any way discourage. If your friend is overdosing, we don't want you to be like, well, I don't want to get another bill, so I'm not going to call. So there's some things that we won't nuisance for.
And just, can someone speak to the clock resetting aspect of businesses with a change of license?
That's frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would be,
It does.
I want someone to explain it, but this would be something you would probably want to talk to your auditors about, because it is a city, ordinance issue.
Yes.
But I just want somebody to address that. When
Yeah,
businesses re-license or get a new person on that license, it does reset the clock.
It does.
It does. It does, unfortunately. And we've seen that happen where it could be the same owner under a different LLC.
Yes.
It resets the clock, and unfortunately, that's like you said, that's an ordinance issue, that's a licensing
They
committee
give it to a
issue.
family member, you know,
Change to a family
brother,
member.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yes, that is a very frustrating issue for us, because we know it's still a problem, but now we gotta set everything back and redo it.
Yep, and because of the city ordinance is out of their hands when it comes to that.
If I could just speak to that, what you can do is begin to ask, like, take a moment to analyze that ordinance, because I think that's the kind of thing that you could ask for your alders, especially in this season, where alders are running, right? For these districts, this is the time to say, you know, there's an ordinance, but you gotta know what you're talking about, right? There's an ordinance that says A, B, C, and whatever, you know, and we needed to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, but you gotta know it and you gotta say it. So when you're going to these forums, or by the way, there's a person running for alder in the room, you know, you say, what do you think, right? What do you think about, don't sorry to put y'all on the spot, but what do you think? But I need us to know how to use our power, right? Let's not just be mad about that the ordinance provides that, because that's a loophole. And so you need to say, we got a loophole. And how do we address that loophole? That's something you can say not just to your alder, but you can also say to your mayor, to your common council president, that this is something we're concerned about because, and it sounds like MPD will be like, yeah, that do create a problem for us, and that'll matter.
So, I know, because I can talk, and I know that we all family, and I keep y'all here all night, but I'm not gonna do that. So, I wanna talk about some wins that we have. So, on the 3200 block of North 27th Street, there was a shooting that happened at that location recently, and there's a business that is there. I can't give you the exact details or anything like that, but I will tell you this, due to several violent incidents that played, and also the work with the CPU, they conducted a walkthrough with DNS, and then also the health department, right?
ATF as well.
ATF as well? Okay, so health department, ATF, and DNS? Okay, and they were able to close this store down for 30 days, okay? And it's a good thing, and I'm not trying to come into anybody's neighborhood and be like, I'm gonna shut that store down. No, but if somebody is getting shot, somebody is getting harmed, hurt, they selling dope, kids walking down the street, they asking kids, yeah, you wanna buy something? That's a problem for me, okay? So, CPU, they took care of it with the health department. Talk about what you guys seen inside of that establishment. By the food, by the hot food too, right?
Yeah, so there was hot food, so they only had a license for, tobacco and,
Liquor,
Guns.
right?
no. So, but when we went in there, we just saw that there's a lot of stuff that didn't look right. They were using things that could be used for, it's like drug paraphernalia. There's Quest cards that are around, and the store's just kind of in tatters. So, any store that has a license to sell tobacco, they have to, if the ATF comes in there and they want to inspect it, they have to submit to it. Well, they found out they had 3 garbage bags of, blunt wraps, cigarillos, all the stuff that they had no receipts for, so they can't prove where they bought it. So they confiscated 3 bags, 3.5 grocery bags of that, 60 Quest cards, which is like a food stamp scam that I don't know exactly how it operates, but the ATF took all that, confiscated all of that property, and I'm not sure what they're following up with, because that would be the health, the Department of Health that I guess issues that, so.
That's not just health, and so if that could be something somehow that we could share with the state, because if a business is licensed and they got people's Quest cards, or they got Quest cards, it sound like some fraud somewhere to me.
Correct, so that'd be state fraud, which is why the ATF is the one that took possession of it.
ATF got that part, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so as a city Milwaukee police officer, we can't,
Right.
the state level fraud is something we can't really investigate. But then we also went out with the health department, and they had shut them down for, they had hot food in the back, which they didn't have a license for, and it was, just kind of deplorable conditions.
They had taco meat in a crock pot, but their their wash station in the basement was a plastic wash basin like you have in your basement laundry room. Different parts of different crock pots were all on the ground. The ground was nasty. We had meat and lettuce next to each other, intermingling. Raw meats, by the way. Not in refrigeration or anything. And the lettuce, not in refrigeration, just mixing all together. It was.
They're even so bold, they sold single cigarettes in front of me. So I wrote him a ticket for it. Right in front of me, he's selling single cigarettes. Is that this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just for clarification, has been,
Say that one more time.
just for clarification, this location has been shut down
Yes.
for 30 days?
30 days. And that
Okay.
was about how many days ago?
Well, that's the confusing part. Apparently they're able to sell tobacco again,
Okay.
but all the other grocery, food stuff, that's supposed to be shut down. So we do have to do more follow-up to make sure that they're adhering to that. So.
Okay.
Okay, and it sounds like this location is in the Amani neighborhood, so how is it that we, the Amani neighborhood and MPD can stay on top of this so that if this location needs to be closed down permanently because you don't know how to operate, then let us move forward with that?
So, we're gonna touch bases after the meeting so we can provide you with information and then maybe we can get, sources of information from your network. So if they go to this place, this establishment, and they're seeing somebody selling food or selling things that they're not supposed to be selling, you can contact us directly, and then we can go to that location and then fill out a license premise report, and then also report them to the health department, and then possibly issue them a citation as well.
So you're saying that people could go undercover?
Well,
Well, not undercover, but they could go in the facility and if they see something, click, take a picture, or maybe not, but contact
depending
you.
on how depending on how, they feel for their safety. If, but as far as the citation, as far as the pictures go. But if they see something and they're like, hey, this ain't right, I know based upon going through that crime and safety meeting, this is what was discussed, let me call District 5, let me call Officer Slide, let me call Officer Colwell.
And you probably should sign up for e-notify for licenses in your area, so then you know when the license is coming forward, you can organize around that and get neighbors to go down to speak against it.
Alderwoman, Ms. Pratt, how do you do that?
So you just sign up on Milwaukee.gov for e-notify, you sign up for licenses in your area, they send you a message, they tell you what kind of license they want, when and how long it'll last, you show up at the hearing, and everybody is able to testify after being sworn in about why you don't want this here.
However, I must say, this is not the first time they've been shut down.
Okay.
So this is an ongoing, when I worked in the neighborhood back in 2018, they were having challenges. So this is,
Not the first time?
no, this is a
Ongoing.
years
Habitual
going
problem.
habitual.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, like you said, they changed the owner and they get to open the store back up, but they're still doing the same thing. So it's really a challenge for the neighborhood. That much I know because I know it was back then.
I have, this isn't the same place, a different place. A few months ago, I charged a guy with selling drugs out of his business. It is a local D5 business. I can't even think of where it is right now, but I will be sending an email out soon to see if anybody would be willing to write a community impact statement. Those would do wonders, especially for somebody selling drugs in the community. See it clear as day. Undercover guy goes inside. You see the drug deals happening. So look for that email within the next couple of weeks. If you're on our email link, I'll attach a document where you can explain to the judge how something like that, while you may not be inside that store, how that affects your family in your community.
So, Michelle, we're gonna talk about that offline too, to see if there's anything that we could do differently. And maybe also, well, I know that the alderman has been notified regarding that location.
And I haven't been, I used to work in that neighborhood and I have not been involved with them for years. I just know from in the past that they had a challenge.
Okay.
But I'm sure the Amani people will be able to assist.
Okay. And so real quick regarding what ADA Kachinwe just mentioned, that community impact statement, where did that come from?
Say that again. What was the question?
I said, so regarding what ADA, Brittany Kachingway said regarding the community impact statement, where did that come from? Y'all.
You mean who does it? Or
No.
who's asking?
No, who initiated, who came up with the idea?
Oh, the community.
Y'all, so thank you, so I just
And it
want,
really helps. The
so,
judges only get to hear from lawyers all the time, and it's the same old, but when they hear from the community, it really does help.
and so when you guys say, hey, well, maybe y'all need to do this, we take everything that you all say into consideration, and we try to fit it in and try to make it work. So, thank you, but so she's got it going, but we need you all to participate so that we can get these individuals either, put where they need to go or get these businesses shut down longer. Yes, ma'am.
When you say the community impact statement, because you are an assistant district attorney and not an assistant city attorney, does that mean that's in circuit court or is that in municipal court?
It's in circuit court.
So, are there community impact statements in municipal court, or do those need to be implemented?
That is the answer. That's a question I don't have the answer for.
Okay.
I think that,
I would
I'm
be
not
committed
one,
if,
but
I mean, if judges aren't doing that, I would surely be committed to seeing something like that happen in municipal court, because that's where violations are for properties, for other things. Everybody doesn't get charged. I think that's an important place for you to be able
maybe
to.
we can get one of the city attorneys to come 1 month to speak, yeah.
And answer the question on that?
Yeah.
And then another win, so for our asset forfeiture, some of the things that you all brought up over the course of the past several meetings, because of course I can't, make things just appear like that. So, with our asset forfeiture, I did request cameras, okay? So we'll decide, we'll actually have to make sure that it gets approved first and foremost, because it's not for MPD, it's for our community members, okay? I have to make sure that it gets approved, and once it gets approved, I should know by the end of, I would say, maybe March. And then we can start issuing those out. We don't have a whole lot of money, so we can get, if you do get a camera, it's not gonna be a Ring camera, okay? So don't be thinking, what do they say, you have a champagne taste on a beer budget? You're getting it's a beer camera, but it works real good, okay?
Is that the Bling or the something like that they're called?
What is it,
The
Bling?
Bling or something?
I'm not sure. Who knows what
It's
it's going
significantly
to
less.
work.
You can buy like
Yes.
3 of them for the price of one ring.
Yes.
I
Yes.
believe the memo we wrote was for the Blink cameras.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Okay. And then one more thing. So,
How many are you anticipating you gonna get?
I am hoping that we get 30. Okay, so that is the goal. If we get more, that will be a blessing. If we get less, that's okay too, as long as we can help somebody do, to something, okay? But we're not paying for the subscription. So the subscription is about what, $14, $15 a month or something like that?
I think for them,
Okay.
I think for the Blink cameras, the subscription is $3 or $6 a month.
Oh, that's a blessing. Okay.
It's much.
That's good. Okay. And then the last win is lights. So lights for what are those lights called? Floodlights. Yes. So floodlights. So we'll do SEPTEDs, which is the crime prevention by environmental design. I believe we have we'll be getting about 30 of those if we are approved. And so we'll have one of the officers, one of our crew members come out, take a look at your house, see or your garage, or whatever the case is, and then install those cameras, okay? So we're doing a little bit more than what MPD
You mean install those lights?
but it's all about,
Yes, the
making
lights.
sure that we safe, yes.
And then who's going to be qualified for these floodlights?
So that's gonna be worked out. So we haven't decided, we're still waiting on getting approved to get them. So it's looking in our favor, and then once we get them, then we can be like, yep, this is the qualifications or whatever the case. Or it could be first come, first served. But if you making, $100,000, I'm sorry. I just need you to go to Home Depot or Amazon, but for, people who need them, and more than likely for, some of our elders, for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone ever asked, like, some of the business, I don't know if this is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna say it, and you're on live and stuff. but businesses that have been a nuisance or a problem, do we ever ask them to give something to the neighborhood association so that doorbells, cameras, and lights can be bought?
So we can't ask them.
But if you
But-
tell them the ones that's the problem, can't the neighborhood association?
Well, think about that statement for crying out loud.
Huh?
It's like asking a drug dealer to give us some money so we could do stuff in the neighborhood. I mean, you know, so there's a conflict of interest. If a store, you know, a really cheesy store gives it, it's gonna be really hard for that organization then to step forward and be honest at the licensing committee meetings or wherever else.
Oh, I don't agree. I can take your money and still, if you do wrong, say so. But I
Well,
hear
you
you.
would, you know.
I hear you. Well, thank you.
You're a special breed, okay? I don't wanna meet you in Vegas, that's for sure.
I was just going to say, it wouldn't necessarily be a good idea for the, say for instance, a nuisance property, nuisance store. It wouldn't be a good idea for that, neighborhood organization to go to them and say, help us fund woo woo wop wop again, because when it comes to that licensing and we show up against you, that's something you gonna throw back in our face. Well, we supported you doing woo woo wop wop. No, you have no changes on me, I ain't doing it.
So, Riverworks, what we've done in the past with some nuisance businesses is created a good neighbor agreement for the business that goes right into their file, that the city can look at, like the alders can look at the license hearings. And I mean, we did one for a fun place on Center and like Buffalo, you know, and they broke it within a week, new owners, and we had another meeting, you know, but that's something, cause they're agreeing to whatever you put in the agreement, and then that gives the license committee something tangible to work with, you know? So that is something, and I don't even remember what we started, but that is something I think is a tool that's underutilized. But, cause I feel like I've been to a lot of license hearings, the alders, they kind of feel like they don't know what to, like they feel conflicted and lost, they're hearing the residents, and then the business is always claiming, oh, poor me, and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like using that tool gives them something to be like, well, look, you said you were gonna do this and you didn't.
Right.
So then they have some tangible something to
Well,
use.
I don't think you really know, I'm sorry for saying this in this way, I'm not very tactful. You don't really know what's happening politically. It has nothing to do with what the neighbors say and whatever else. It's what the alderperson of the area, how that person votes. 99% of the time, the license committee is going to, or whatever committee it is, or the common council is going to support
I
that
get what
position.
you're saying, but here's the deal, if you have something on paper, then they can't ignore it. And yes, I completely understand what goes on politically, I'm not that young. But what I'm saying is, you're giving them a tool. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we should be using tools, and that empowers residents and community-based organizations to help the process.
Thank you all. Well, that sums it up, because I told you I could talk all night. Thank you, guys. Oh, don't forget, Coffee with the Cop, February 16th. At Coffee with the Cop? Oh, okay. That works? Okay. So, Coffee with the Cop.
Coffee with a Cop.
At Coffee Makes You Black, it's every third Thursday at 12 o'clock. Thanks.